Good morning. It is the Saturday, the 27th of May, and this is the Saturday show with Levy and Horne. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the final Saturday show with Levy and Horne of the season. This is going to be a nail biter, hopefully, from tomorrow, between now and tomorrow, where we'll talk about the Premier League final day fixtures as well. We are going to discuss all about the EFL playoff finals, including today's game, which is a huge game. What a fair test of between Coventry City and Luton. We're also going to talk about the relegation battle between ourselves, Leeds, Leicester, and Everton as well. And we'll talk about this kind of what's been happening in La Liga with how I've been introduced with racism as well. But unfortunately, no Doug on with us. But I do have two guests with us. So we'll get both of them joining us. Say good morning to Chris from Leicester Today. Morning, Chris. How you doing?
Good morning. Ask me again on Monday morning. All I can say is if we go down together next season, it'll be like starting a new school and seeing an old friend across the playground, and I'll run over and hug you and say, "I know somebody." It's worrying, isn't it? But look, it's a game of football at the end of the day, and we've got health, lives, family, and what have you, and that's. We're not getting bombed by Russia, so it's first world problems when you think about it.
I know.
I sound convincing now. I'm trying to convince myself.
Oh my god! And making his debut as well, and I would like to say from Scarfy Spurs Talk, it's Harry Scarf. Harry, how you doing?
No, I'm very good, thank you. Thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure to be here. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And as Chris pointed out, although it's hard to see it when you're in the middle of it, at the end of the day, it is just a game of football.
Absolutely, indeed, absolutely. Anyone who wants to join us, I have put the link in the comments on YouTube. If you want to join us in the chat, please do as well. We'll appreciate it as well. Let's go through the final day fixtures tomorrow. 6:30 kickoff on tomorrow. Arsenal hold to Wolves. Aston Villa gets Brighton, who have Aston Villa trying to fight to get that final Europa Conference League spot. While Brentford away at home to Man City. Palace at home to Nottingham Forest. Chelsea v Newcastle. Newcastle want to finish on a high. Everton gets Bournemouth. Everton needs a win to stay up as well. Leeds against Spurs. Can Spurs try to get into the final Europa Conference League spot? Time will tell. Can Leeds stay up as well? Leicester hold to West Ham. Can Leicester stay up as well if it also goes away? Manchester United gets Fulham, and then Southampton against Liverpool. Yeah, it's a lot we're going to be discussing about that. But we are going to go first to the final Premier League relegation battle. And at the moment, it's, well, I don't know, Chris, that you and I will defer with this one, but I will share the screen looking at the bottom of the table because it is very, very bleak, I have to say. See here at the bottom of the table, it's so tight with 2 points between Everton, Leicester City, Leeds United. We know sometimes we're already relegated. Bournemouth already survived already. And it's just, time will tell with this one. But Chris, I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to lie to you, but this is tight, isn't it? It's very, very tight.
I am doing the watch along tomorrow live from my toilet because to save myself keep getting up and down every 5 minutes and going, I might as well just stay in there. All I can say is to Harry, you lot better do us a favour, But it's weird because I'm glad it has gone to the end of the day, end of the last day of the season, because it means we're still fighting. Somehow we've not followed Southampton and already been relegated. God knows how with the season we've had. But we've done better than Arsenal. We've dragged it out as long as we can. They gave up with a few weeks to spare.
Yeah.
It's interesting because I think, and I don't mean this horribly. At the end of the day, we're all fans, and none of this is ever directed against the fans. But it seems that we are everybody's favourite to want to stay up. I think everybody wants Everton I did a poll on Twitter, and it was like 75% of non-Leicester fans wanted Everton to go down, and I think that's pretty much across the board. Most, with what's gone on there. I just, but a little bit of me thinking like, oh God, if in a normal season, and this is the funny thing, if this is such a weird season, and if this was a normal season, we'd have been dead and buried by now, Cole.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Yeah, I 100% agree with that. Especially the way you guys started off this season, it was quite tough to see. Actually, it really was, and I was very surprised. And I thought Leeds was a bit of a bouncing on the up a little bit when we started well in August, and we just struggled from then on. But yeah, it is hard. Harry, what's your point on what the teams at the bottom have, particularly with Everton again in a similar situation they were last season? So have Leeds. But are you surprised how Leicester really been that poor most of the season when they were very much down in that bottom three?
Yeah, yes and no. I think, at the start of the season, when Brendan Rodgers had not much to spend at all, we knew that Leicester, they wouldn't be up there like they have in the last 3 years. We knew they would struggle this season. It was just a matter for me of how much they struggled. But they were in a position, I think where you're bottom of the league, looks like you're gone. So to be in the situation, final game of the season, where there's still a possibility you can stay up, credit. And it's also the same with Leeds as well. I'm sure Allardyce coming into the job would have gone, as long as we're still in it on the final day, that little bit of hope. So as bleak as it does look for both Leicester and Leeds, they're still in it to the final day, and that is always an important thing. Obviously, Everton, second time they've been in this situation, they'd be lucky to get away with it again. Being honest with you, like you mentioned the poll, I wouldn't mind them going down at all. I think you've got a club like Everton. They were lucky with Lampard last year, and they'd be very lucky to get away with it once again. To be honest with you, that's the way I look at it. But yeah, Leicester, but especially Leeds, are going to need an absolute miracle to stay up. And I can't see Everton losing at home to Bournemouth, but you just never know. So anything can happen. Final day of the season, relegation battle. So we shall see. But I reckon Everton should be okay.
Yeah, go on, Chris.
I'm going to say the thing that I've been grasping onto for weeks now is our goal difference. I mean, you can see there we're on minus 18, Everton are on minus 24,
Yeah.
Leeds minus 20. I mean, we lost to Man City, Dean Smith's first game, but it was 3-1. So we didn't get tanked and have our goal difference done there. We played Newcastle, it was 0-0. We played Liverpool, it was only 3. So we haven't been sort of tanked by anybody, which would have, really made it harder for us. And that's the thing that for us, we've got to win, and I'm pleased we've got to win, because I think if we're in a position where we could get away with a draw, that's very, very dangerous ground of thin ice to be on. Everton have got to win as well, because if they draw and then we win, then we're safe and they're down. So they've got to win. Leeds, unfortunately, I think you need about a 9-0 win or something against Spurs.
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry. They get that. Don't worry. But you see, no, but Leeds, although it's really, really hard, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Leeds need to beat us. They're relying on a Leicester draw and Everton to probably lose against Bournemouth. So it's unlikely that Leeds are going to stay up. But being honest with you, right now, Tottenham, at home, last game of the season, it probably is the, okay fixture. You wouldn't mind that at all, I don't think, right now, the situation we're in. But the beauty of it, all three of these teams are at home, in front of their home crowd. They know, survival and next season, the Premier League's at stake. So it makes it interesting. I'm sure the King Power will be rocking. I'm sure Ellen Road will be rocking. Goodison Park. That I'm sure will be amazing atmosphere. So there's a lot of stakes. So it's going to be really, really interesting. And it's a question of who's going to slip up. And Everton, they've got that little bit of pressure on them, because I think Leicester going to Newcastle and get that point was an incredible point. Could have won it towards the end. But overall, if you look at the bigger picture, going to St James's Park and get the point, not many teams have managed to do that. Ourselves went to Newcastle, got absolutely turned over, as you know. So for Leicester to go there and get a point with Newcastle the season they're having, it is really, really impressive point. Leicester are in a better situation than they were, a few months ago. So they're in it. And they've got West Ham at home. Your hope, Chris, as a Leicester fan, will be that West Ham are concentrating on that, Conference League final, and they put out a weaker team. be honest with you, I think that I don't think anything's going to change with the relegation. But I think Leicester will beat West Ham. I think Leeds will beat us. But I think Everton will at least. I reckon Everton will beat Bournemouth, which changes nothing. But it'd be great if it could be down. They've got final minutes, and we don't know who's going to stay up. So we hope for like an interesting battle down the bottom. But Everton.
Do you know what's funny though? And
done.
I can't claim this. I got this off Talk Sport, but we are all looking at these games and going, well, yeah, Spurs could be Spurs, no disrespect, and Leeds could beat them. We could beat West Ham. It's a winnable game. We've won them before. Maybe their mind's on Europe. Everton are at home. They've probably got the easiest game because they're against the Bournemouth side. No disrespect to them. And yet these are three teams that have struggled to win all season.
Yeah.
And yet we're all sat here going like, they're all going to get a win on the last day. I mean, look at it there. Between the three of us, we've got 22 wins or something. It's embarrassing. And yet we suddenly think we're all going to have this great, we're all going to come away with 3 points on the last day. All I can say is it's going to be one of those days where the table's going to change so many times. It's untrue.
I know, absolutely is. And I'm going to ask you both, who's going to be the worst team that's going to be financially effective if they go down? Because we know with Everton's financial issues. Chris, we talk about Leeds as well, especially with their financial stuff. We know with Adriano Randazani, you don't know if they need to start, but Adriano Randazani is buying Sampdoria, who have just been relegated from Serie A in Italy. And who's going to be the owners involved with it? It is the QSI from the PSG owners involved with the minority stake. Does this sound again like Leeds are being linked again with Qatari ownership again when the American owners, the 49ers, still want to buy the club, but they want to buy the club for less than half the value that what Adriano Randazani is put in? Because I don't know yourself with Leicester, I know your owners rid off the debts. Who's going to be the worst financially affected if the teams go down?
We're all good. In a way, we all are going to be. I think potentially Everton, because they're in such a mess. When you look at the three clubs, and we've all got financial problems. We wouldn't be in this problem if it hadn't been for FFP at the start of the season. We actually tried to play by the rules, and this what happens. Man City don't play by the rules and get a trophy. Did I say that out loud? But Everton, they have got to be looking at some sort of points deduction. They surely have. Whether it is you can't find these these clubs because it's pocket money to the owners. Now, whether that's going to be this season, I doubt it, because unlike Serie A in Italy, the FA can't make decisions inside of 4 years. But they could struggle if they have that points deduction as well, and it's carried over into next season. I don't know the full extent at Leeds. In a way, it's funny because, and I've said this before, it may not be the end of the world for Leicester if we get relegated, because we have got a lot of average players on very high wages.
Yeah.
Because of when we won the league, we tried to stay up there. We came fifth twice. We didn't sell Tielemans when we should have done to bring some money in. We were then hit by COVID, and I know every club was hit by COVID, but our owners aren't, multi-millionaire oil barons. Their whole business is tourism and duty free and hotels.
Yeah.
They were well hit by COVID. But the owner has sort of committed £192 million debt he wrote off and put into shares. It's nice, isn't it? He could send a bit of money my way as well. And so I think in a way it would work. It's like when we went down to League One. We were able to get rid of a lot of deadwood and bring in players that wanted to play. But financially, I think Everton could really struggle if they go down.
Yeah.
I really do financially, because God knows what their owners on or doing or whatever. So that it could be they could do a Man City, even go down to the third tier, and it'd be years before we see them again.
That is the point. And even though they're in exclusive talks with one of the investment groups to buy the club, so that Everton could be trying to wipe up the debt because especially they got a new stadium coming out from the 2024-25 season. It's just so much. Everton's got a lot to lose because of their financial situation.
Yeah, can I just, if you don't mind, jump onto what Chris said in terms of who struggles financially the most? I actually don't think, like you say, Chris, it won't. I don't think it'd be the end of the world if Leicester do go down because you've got players in terms of financially anyway, because players like Maddison, players like Tielemans, who still Leicester will still get a lot of money for. Let's say Tottenham or Newcastle in for Maddison. I'm sure both will be willing to pay quite a bit, especially Newcastle. So the money will be there for Leicester. But in terms of losing talent, obviously, going to that championship, because Leicester do, although you say they definitely have average players on the high wages, but they do have out of those three teams down the bottom. I would say Leicester have the most quality, in the team overall. I think they've got better individuals in the squad, like I mentioned, the Maddisons, the Tielemans, the Harvey Barnes.
Have you watched them recently?
I think Leicester will get a lot for them, so that will help them financially. Whereas Everton, who are also actually in a financial crisis, I think they've struggled to sell the players they're on high wage once again, and they're in a difficult situation with financial fair play. It feels unfair on the small teams. We have this situation with Leicester. City can get away with it. It just feels that it isn't quite right. It's been used in the wrong way. I kind of like the idea, but it's not right. And like with Everton, let's say that they stay up, Leicester and Leeds go down, and the next season they found they were guilty and they get that 15-point deduction. Then how unfair is that on both Leeds and Leicester when they could have stayed up? We're talking about this because it's taking so long to investigate. I don't know what's happened with the City thing, but I don't like Arsenal, right? But it'd be really unfair if next season all of a sudden they went, oh, City going to get a point deduction. I'm glad it's happened to Arsenal, but that would also be very, very unfair on them. So we keep talking about this, and it is Leicester had the situation at the start of the season where they can't spend. Chelsea can get away with it. City can get away with it because they've got that money. Whereas you've got the clubs like Leicester who won't get away with it. And for me, it's just not right.
Very true. I can't argue with any of that.
No, same here as well too. I can't argue as well. Let's see some messages. Some Kieran, trust me, you don't want to have faith in Spurs. Good morning, Peter, as well. I big up last someone to Chris Welch, mate. He won't be in the comments as he's learning to watch Carlo tomorrow. I hope Carlo do.
Good luck to Carlisle.
Good luck. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah. Carlisle and Stockport, two good clubs. I really hope for one of them will go out because they both have really good seasons as well. They really have done. Let's go into the EFL playoff finals, actually. And, guys, we have to discuss more about this. It's a big game today. What the richest game in today between Coventry and Luton later on today. Chris, these teams 5 years ago were playing in League Two. How they just come such a long way from that time when they were both in the low leagues.
All I'll say is, come on, Luton. Coventry for me. Coventry are our biggest rivals. But no, fair. I mean, they are managed by an ex-Leicester player. They are, literally, it's a motorway derby, the M69. They had many years in the top flight. And look at them now. Look, I always say, look, football rivalry is great and you have the banter. But at the end of the day, and we've been in the position as Leicester City where we went out of business. We nearly went out of business a second time, but Milan Mandrić came in and saved us. So we've been down there. And it's like with Derby. Yes, I laughed my socks off when they got relegated, and got a points deduction. Did I want to see them go bust? No. Now, Coventry's the same. They've not got a stadium. Bloody Mike Ashley trying to evict them from the stadium. And, what the hell is going on at Coventry? And they had a season where they had to play at Birmingham and
Northampton as well, too. Yeah.
And I do feel for the fans. And like I say, I'm happy for them if they were to lose the game, because obviously it's rivalry and it's banter. But I don't want them to go out of business. That said, Luton Town, I guess it's because I'm a Leicester fan and I still don't think of us as a big club. When we had the success that we had recently, we were punching above our weight. We were dining at the top table and then somebody's come along and kicked us off and said, "Look, you're not fit to eat with us." But I wish them both luck. I love to. I'd have wished that Luton would have come up last season. I think if we'd got a decent referee, that they probably would have done.
I want to listen. As a from Huddersfield, I actually did agree with that. We review with that one because it was a bit unfair how that decision was between Luton and Huddersfield last season.
It's a terrible decision.
Yes.
Yeah.
But no, I think to see it's like Brentford this season. Leicester were never going to do another, top 6 finish. But it was great to see the likes of Brighton, Fulham, Brentford trying to do that. And well done to Brighton for getting European football. It's fantastic when you look at their history of not having a ground and playing at an athletic track. So well done to both Luton and to Carlisle. It's an amazing story. And whoever wins, enjoy your time. I hope you make it last. I love to see those clubs now having to go, and not Norwich, not Watford again, sort of some different clubs. Yeah. And no disrespect to, and this is the thing with Everton as well. For me, it's good to see sometimes the bigger clubs humbled and maybe have that sort of thing, because it gives the rest of us a bit of it can happen to anybody, but True. We know it won't. But good luck to them both. I'd like Luton to do it as well, because they missed out the way they did last season. So,
I see. I agree. I was thinking about Coventry as well, and do you know what? I have to admit, it's going to be interesting. It is built for the Romantics. These teams are going to be hard to go. I wish both of them could come up, but it has to be one. It has to be one, Harry, because especially with Luton Town, you got that small ground. Going through the way turnstiles behind the houses. Whereas Coventry was going through, I think they resolved the issue with Mike Ashley with the stadium. Right? I think they're now signing a new deal already. Now it's just this could change huge for any of the clubs for their future for the long term, because Luton nearly went out of business nearly years ago compared to when they went down to the National League.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think you're spot on when you say I wish they could both come up. But either way, it's going to be a fairy tale story. Let's face it. Like you say, 5 years ago, both in League Two together, they've come so far. We talk about Coventry, like you said, nearly went bust. Luton, the stadium, they're going to have to spend that 10 million on upgrading the stadium. You're basically going through people's gardens to get, through that, for example, the away entrance to get into the stadium, things like that. And it's incredible, really. Luton deserved to come up last year. But as a Spurs fan, I know, and we know that when we play them next season away from home, we lose to both, because that's just what we do away from home. So I can't even sit here and go, I wish, for example, Coventry come up, because we won't even beat them away. But let's say, for example, Coventry came up, then they would have to spend, I think, quite a bit to have a chance to stay in the league. I think Luton will be the favourite going into it in this situation last year. For Coventry, I think it's a bit of a surprise they got here. Luton, had a fantastic season, but more people expect them to be here than Coventry. Like I said, I think it'd be a fairy tale story either way. Wish both clubs the best. It'd be a great watch, great occasion, both at Wembley. Both clubs have come so far, so credit to them both. It is great to see when small clubs do very, very well. And it's great to see it. And like Chris says, it's good to not see like the Norwiches, the Watfords, what I call the boring, the same every year. We can almost predict Watford, Norwich again. It's always the same. So to have two clubs in Coventry and Luton, if you'd asked them 5 years ago, would we be in this position, would have probably turned around and laughed at you, is fantastic to see. But no, they'd be great outfits to the Premier League, especially Luton. I mean, I think you've got Burnley going up under Company. That'd be interesting. You've got, let's imagine, Luton come up as well, Sheffield United. All three of those clubs, it'd be really, really interesting, especially Luton, to see. But no, I'm a neutral going into this, and I'm really, really looking forward to the game.
Absolutely, indeed, as well. Too. We've got the League One player final at all Yorkshire derby fair between Barnsley and Sheffield Wednesday. And Chris, Sheffield Wednesday made the biggest comeback of all. They were 4-0 down in the first leg against Peterborough, and then somehow they made an overturn and then win on penalty shooters in the second leg. How's that possible?
To be honest with you, this is why we love football, isn't it? It totally is. It's great when you haven't got a dog at the horse at the races, and then you can just sit back and enjoy it. I've got a soft spot for Sheffield Wednesday. Jamie Vardy, obviously, it's his club. But I don't know. There's just I can remember. I'm older than you two guys, probably ages put together. And I can remember Sheffield Wednesday when they got to 2 cup finals in the same season. Trevor Francis, and they got the stadium. It's had its bad times, but it's had good times as well. And you've got to say that if there's a fairy tale end to the League One season, it would be Sheffield Wednesday getting promoted. No disrespect to Barnsley, because again, I can remember Barnsley being in the Premier League.
Yeah, true, absolutely true with that one, and especially Barnsley, what they went through, 2 years ago, they were close to get to the championship playoff final about a few seasons ago. I think Sheffield Wednesday was the same couple of seasons ago when they lost to Huddersfield in the semi-final when Huddersfield went up that season in 2017. So it is all to play. It is all to play for those two teams, because both of the teams were really good. I think Sheffield Wednesday would be on fire because they were disappointed the way it finished for them when they missed out on the top 2 in the promotion. So it's going to be interesting to see that. I think the one game I'm going to be looking at tomorrow as well is Kyle against Stockport County. And I know we would have Chris Welch on here. He would have joined us, but I thought he's down in London. But like I said, two teams that have been through their bad, tough times. And, Harry, this is one for the fairy tale for Ivory's close. Carlisle, just stayed up last season. And they're fighting in the playoff. They're now in the playoffs and got to the final. They had to overcome against Bradford as well. What a game that was as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, cracking game. Like you say, both teams have gone through their struggles, recent years, and it's definitely a game that I'll be keeping an eye out for. We've got all these EFL playoff finals. We've got in so many situations where there could be and probably will be a fairy tale story either way, which is it's fantastic to see. But like you said, with Sheffield Wednesday as well, what an incredible comeback against Peterborough. I mean, the perfect start to the game. You always want to start the game like that. We saw after the first leg, Sheffield Wednesday fans on social media saying, they're turning up, ripping up their tickets, abuse Darren Moore. Then they're all gone quiet after, that what I call tactical genius from him to do that. We haven't seen anything like that. It's incredible. But what I find most admirable is you go into extra time, Portsmouth make that goal, get that goal back 4-1, and you're in that situation. You think, God, we've done all this work, and now it's just gone like that. I know from being a Spurs fan myself, if we were in this situation, we wouldn't have come back because the mentality and belief wouldn't have been there. But somehow we would have. We would have got there and gone, oh, might as well give up now. We've lost anyway. All that hard work gone. That's the way we look at it. So it's great to see they kept fighting and got that goal. So no, honestly, and then winning on penalties as well. Just incredible. Not what you expected at the start of the day. So you've got all of these EFL playoff finals, and there've been twists and turns everywhere. I'm sure there'll be more this weekend as well. It's just fantastic to see.
I mean, what you got to love, I love as well about, for example, looking at League Two here. It's nice to see Orient coming back, but Stevenage, these clubs, that haven't seen, for years, we're just in the lower leagues and what have you, but coming through, and there's so much. I can remember. I mean, let's say I'm old enough to remember when these playoffs were introduced, and the idea was that it would give mid-table teams something to play for at the end of the season with a few games left, rather than just being on the beach, as they say. But you got to feel for some of these clubs, like Northampton. They finished third on 83 points, missing out by 2 points. Carlisle, no disrespect to them, 76 points. They're 8 points behind, and yet here they are possibly going to get promoted. And League One was even tighter, like you say, wasn't it? Because that was on goal difference. That who was it missed out on that? Well, Sheffield Wednesday missed out going up automatically.
Yeah,
but like you said, as neutrals, and Leicester's got a history of being in playoff finals. I think it was 3 times in 4 seasons, and including that famous one against Swindon Town and Glen Hoddle. It is for the fans. It's a difficult one because I think we do we want to go straight up, or do we want to have a day out at Wembley? It'd be nice to have the day out at Wembley if you could be guaranteed to go up. But it's. But no, good luck to everybody that's in the playoff finals this weekend.
Absolutely, indeed. Let's go to the other news. I think I have to say the league is in turmoil after the scandal. What's been happening with Vinicius Junior when he was racially abused against Valencia last Sunday as well. We have an announcement that Vinicius' punishment had following the racist abuse of Real Madrid has been reduced on appeal. The partial closure of the Mestalla has been reduced from 5 to 3 matches, and their fine has been cut from €45 to €27,000, which is about £23,400 after the Spanish Football Federation Appeal Committee decided to partially uphold as well. Vinicius was subject to the erasure chance from the crowd. Police Spanish have detained 3 people in connection with the abuse, and Real Madrid said it's a hate crime and have reported to the Spanish prosecutors police. Chris, I think this is more bigger what's been going on in La Liga. When in England, we have got the mechanism of dealing with this, but La Liga's been so late, been so behind with the times, and we hear the La Liga president Javi Tebas in this extraordinary press conference yesterday, was very like what was going on. He couldn't even number how many black staff working at La Liga. This is just a huge mess in Spanish football, and I think Vinicius Junior is thinking about his future after what happened to him, because it's I have to say in Spain this has been a long issue that needs to be addressed in Spain.
Yeah, and can you imagine what world news it would be if it was an English team? We'd be banned from Europe for 5 seasons. But yeah, it seems that maybe because of that sort of reputation that we had, we kind of, and we know it's not gone, and it will never go, unfortunately, because there's always idiots out there from any club. And look, whatever your political or whatever your views are, nobody should be abused for any reason whatsoever doing the job. And this is what this guy was doing. He was just doing his job, and that used to get me about Leicester fans. When it was bad in this country, we would abuse other players, not including myself, but we would fans would abuse coloured players from other teams, and yet half our bloody team was coloured players. It just doesn't. But the point I'm interested in is what message does it send out to the fans when they're fined or the points deducted, whatever, and then on appeal it's reduced.
Yeah,
it needs to be tough action. When you look at I don't know what the answer is, because remember, was it Bulgaria when England got abused?
Yeah.
In the internationals.
Yeah, it was.
And then the countries or the teams are made to play behind closed doors, but then that's affecting all the fans, and it's a small minority. Surely they've got the technology these days to pick out who these fans are and do facial recognition and what have you, and make sure that they are banned for the rest of their life. But at the end of the day, the thing is, the clubs have got to crack down on it, and the only way is to make the club suffer. But they've got to take it more seriously than they are doing. They've always looked at it and said, "Oh, it's the English disease." Yes, it was, but we're trying to sort it out. You guys, 10 years behind us.
Absolutely. And Harry, do you think Javier Tebas, the La Liga president's future, is so much more in turmoil, because he has been such a hypocrite for many of the other leagues as well, criticizing? I know he's about to criticize Man City and PSG, but he criticized Barcelona by making different rules of Barcelona, being told that you can't do this and that. And he can't even address the racist issue when he told Vinicius, said, "Oh, if you came to these classes, then you would not be going, then it wouldn't, make you." And I'm just thinking, he's just dug himself a bigger hole.
Yeah, no, definitely, 100%. And obviously, what happened is wrong. And like Chris says, at the end of the day, he's just doing his job. Nobody should be abused in any way, and it's just wrong. The Liga are so far behind it, and they're not taking it seriously at the end of the day. The punishment needs to be more. Clubs need to do more. And Chris, once again, says, like with the technology that we have, surely they'll be able to recognise and give them that lifetime ban, which is needed, because sadly, it isn't going to go anywhere in world football. It obviously should, But for example, it won't, which is sad because obviously you've got the idiots out there. I don't know what their aim is. What happened to Vinicius is wrong, but I think he just shows how far behind La Liga is compared to other leagues. But they need to start taking it seriously because it isn't acceptable, and more punishments need to be stricter. That lifetime ban, it just really is. It just isn't good enough.
The problem as well on the other side, and obviously, we're agreeing on that. But how do you enforce a lifetime ban? How does that fan? Let's say in this country, how does a fan that's banned from going to Leicester for racist abuse not be able to get in to Barrow or to Carlisle or somewhere like that? It's almost impossible, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's a really, really good question, but we see it all the time. For example, at Spurs and Arsenal incident, where that Spurs fan's gone and, kicked Ramsdale after he's got to have done that in front of the fans. What Ramsdale have done was wrong, but nobody should react like that in what is just a game of football. As annoyed as I was, that isn't acceptable. And he was issued a lifetime ban in the stadium. I don't know quite how it works. Whether he's brought up on the system, don't let this guy in. Because can you imagine all the people that have got lifetime bans? They can't kind of keep note of them. Every Stewart's not going to be away. I don't know how that's quite done. I don't know if it's
identity cards.
Yeah, or it could be just something that it looks good on their part. We're going to give you a lifetime ban, but actually don't. Yeah, I don't know, but what needs to be done is punishments need to be stricter in whatever way. Lifetime ban, whether it's a bigger fine, something needs to be done because we can't keep sitting here and going, oh, it's happened again, because it just isn't acceptable.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of tongue in cheek there with identity cards, and then that's another whole issue. Yeah. But surely, I mean, there's that much money in football, and I know, Premier League clubs are a lot richer than League Two, etc. But as football world as a whole, there's a lot of money sloshing about in it. So how expensive is it to say, if you want to come into this ground, you've got to have you've got to have a card. Now, every time that even if you go to one game a season, when you buy that ticket, you are issued with a card. And that's your card. Now, you take that card to every match, every game or that you go to, and you scan that with your ticket, or your ticket's somehow printed onto that card. Even if you then go and watch, let's say Bolton Peterborough, I've got the table up here, you still got to show the same card, and it will come up at your band.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. The one big question is, what is the future for Vinicius Junior? Do you think now it's going to, Brazilian players are going to think about carefully twice now, going to Spain and now looking at other leagues such as the Premier League and Bundesliga, because it sounds like his future is going to be he's thinking about his future now, thinking, especially the last few seasons, he had a tremendous season. Last season when he won the Champions League for Real Madrid last year against Liverpool. Do you think his future's under question now? Do you think he will now look at other clubs in England, and even same for future Brazilian players who will be coming to Europe in the coming years?
I think you do. I think you look at when you are made an offer by a club these days, you've got to have a look at what is involved. What abuse are you going to get? Even if it's say like an ex-Arsenal player and is offered a contract at Spurs, he's going to have to sort of think, can I live with the abuse I'm going to get? This is obviously on a bigger scale. But yes, if that was me, I would certainly be looking at that and thinking, do I want this? Is it worth this? And not just for me, but my family, my kids at school and what have you, because of the wider picture of what happens,
outside of football as well. Yeah.
And definitely. Yes, they've surely got to look. There's enough leagues around the world that they can say, well, I'd sooner play in that one because I'm not going to get abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's good. It's a lot. It's got a lot for that future South American players, and especially now. I mean, it will be a lot to consider. It will be as well too. All right, let's go on today's back pages, and we're going to start off as well. And this has been the interesting news. We've been hearing this for the last couple of days. Actually, Chris, we know that Real Madrid are set to announce the signing from Jude Bellingham. This is for next week. This is in Marseille in Spain. We kind of knew this was kind of coming, but is this the right move for Jude if after tomorrow, if Borussia Dortmund wins the Bundesliga tomorrow against Bayern Munich? Do you think he will be a Real Madrid player in the coming days?
It will pee Man United off, won't it? Excuse me. Why not? If I was, all I can say is, what would I do if I was him? You've got to be attracted by Real Madrid, haven't you? He's going to be settled for life financially. When we all know, looking at, I've forgotten the guy's name from the Welsh player who played for Real Madrid.
Bale,
yeah, you can go and have a great lifestyle even if you don't play football. So, yeah, it'd be a good signing for them. Of course, it would. It's another affirmation that the bigger clubs can go out and buy who they want and what have you. But if I was him, I'd jump at the chance.
How about yourself? Would this make more sense, him then, because he was into Liverpool most of the season, but because Liverpool missed out in the Champions League, would this make perfect sense for the future that Madrid midfield, be progressing after when Kroos and Modric will retire?
Yeah. I think what Chris says is this just alludes to another example where big clubs can go and buy who they want. That financial fair play doesn't really apply to them because of the money that they get, because the players are signing in the position they're finishing in. They can afford to do this. Whatever you think, I think it's wrong personally, but that's a completely other subject. He will definitely improve that Real Madrid midfield. You've got that aging midfield with Toni Kroos, Luka Modric, fantastic midfielders, but how long have they got left is the question. Yeah. So for Real Madrid's sake, this is a massive signing. Their future, like next season, and whether they're going to be able to compete in big competitions depends on this. Personally, if I'm Bellingham, I'll be looking to come to the Premier League. But at the same time, if I was Bellingham, I've always said I would join Liverpool. But at the same time, I wouldn't now because they're not in the Champions League. Real Madrid will be. It's interesting. So I don't think he'd join Man United because is he going to get, 100% guaranteed game time in Man United midfield? You would hope so. When you've got Casemiro in there, you've got Eriksen in there, you've got Bruno Fernandes. But don't tell me he's going to play every game. I can't see it quite working with Man United. I think he'd be in and out of the team, interchange, which a player like Bellingham doesn't want to be able to do. Liverpool, again, this is massive for them and affects them. We know they've got an aging midfield in the Hendersons and the Milners who will leave, the Chamberlain that's leaving. Their midfield is starting to become really, really weak. It has to be said. So for them, this was key. But they knew that they had to get in the Champions League to have any chance of attracting him. So I purely believe that he's had a quick scan and gone, Man United, I don't know if I'm going to get in that team. Liverpool in the Champions League. That's my mind made up. I'm not even going to try and push the City move. How hard is it to get in City's team full of world-class players? It is pretty much impossible. So there you go. And with Tottenham, we're never going to go out there and pay the money. So it's not even worth having that discussion. So in the end of the day, this may sound crazy, but Real Madrid's the only option. At the end of the day, it's the only option with Liverpool not getting the Champions League.
Yeah, absolutely as well. Good morning, Steve. I hope you're well. Well, we're nervous. Yes, we're both. I think me and Chris are nervous. So yeah, I don't know. We're okay, but we'll see how it goes when we sit in the toilet for more than 2 hours after tomorrow. Yeah.
My buttocks are very firmly clenched at the moment.
Oh God! Over to you, see for the Daily Mirror that Declan Rice would prefer to join Arsenal this summer with Man United, Chelsea. Also interested in 20 and 40. And Chris, Declan Rice has been, we know he's going to be leaving West Ham, but what for the right price? Because it looks like Bayern Munich are interested in him, which is very surprising to go around Europe. But I can't see Chelsea getting him with what's going on at Chelsea. Do you think it's now a shootout between Arsenal and Manchester United?
Again, if I was him, I would go to Bayern Munich, because to me, it develops your football. You see different styles of football. You're in a different league. Chance to would you sooner be in Germany or Manchester, or no disrespect, Harry, North London?
Yeah.
It's all right, you will.
No, you're spot on.
I think it's a shame that that clubs like Leicester, like West Ham, can't hold on to these sort of players, and that it is literally cherry picking by these other clubs. I mean, there was a time when clubs, even the so-called Big Six, would develop their own talent. Now it's a case of go out and let's just buy the talent. How many times have Leicester recently? I mean, nobody would have spent 29 million on Fofana. Leicester took the gamble and bought him in. Sorry, 90 million, bought him in, and then sold him for 75 to Chelsea. How's that going, Chelsea?
Exactly. Good business, sir.
Yeah, exactly. He's well up there with Maguire. We've got a history of it.
I think Tielemans should have been sold as well, though.
Sorry?
I think Tielemans should have been sold as well. You've got a lot for him.
That would have been the gamble that might have saved us financially, but we tried to hold on to him to still battle for that top five. But with Declan Rice, what Chelsea, for God's sake! I mean, you must be happy, Harry, because they're taking the limelight off you for looking stupid as a club, aren't they? Really,
They have, and it takes a lot to do that.
Yeah, I mean, how? I mean, the guy comes in with an idea. Okay, he's gone to Graham Potter. Fair play. He wants to try something different, and you don't know until you give these managers a chance. But then you're undermining the manager by bringing in players that you want to do. And we had the same with Martin Allen under Milan Mandric. He walked in one morning and saw Jimmy Floyd Hasselbanks out there. So what are you doing there? He said, well, I'm signing for the club, and Martin Allen knew nothing about it. It's a joke, Chelsea. Why would you go to Chelsea? I mean, it's like a scene from Zulu at their training ground. You know what I mean? They're all coming over the hill on the run. It's ridiculous. Arsenal and Man United. I've got to be honest with you. I'd probably choose Man United because I think looking at what the future has got for those two clubs, I think they've got a good manager. What they've achieved this season has been really good with the mess that they've been in and the rebuild that they've had to do. But if I was him, I think he would go to Bayern Munich. But if it's a UK club, I think Manchester United, and I think it may take a while, like with Grealish at Man City. A lot of money paid for him, and he spent first season bench warming. But he's a permanent fixture now. So yeah, for me, that's the way I would see it.
Yeah, we'll see in the summer if what club he will go to. Also, in link with Manchester United, is Chelsea's midfielder Mason Mount, who's in his last final year of his contract. Harry, how can you let someone like Mason Mount go? Who's might be going to Manchester United when he's been there, the top player for the last 2 seasons at least.
Yeah. For me, I don't see what people see in Mason Mount. For me, Chelsea to get rid of him is the right decision. Considering the amount of players they've got, he has to go. I don't know why Man United are going for him. I don't think he changes Man United. I think he's a player who I seriously believe this when I say it. Just about gets into the matchday squad. I don't think he gets any game time whatsoever or any impact. I don't know what he's there for because he'll be on a high wage. He's costing Man United a lot. In terms of Man United, this has got to be up there with probably one of the worst signings for me anyway in recent years. Very, very wasteful. For Chelsea, they'll be rubbing their hands together, knowing that in a couple of years' time, Mason Mount will be worth 5-10 million, which for me, Mason Mount's worth no more than 20. Lots of people will disagree. I don't know what Man United are playing at with that. Perhaps it's back up to Declan Rice. But going back to what you said about Declan Rice, I've made it clear that as a player, if I would love to stay in the Premier League. But if you're him, you go to Bayern Munich because Man United, you aren't guaranteed game time. Arsenal, again, are you guaranteed game time and where they're going as a club next season? Do you want to be really part of that? So for him, you want to establish yourself in the Champions League or on your world stage at Bayern Munich. But with Mount, I don't know what Man United are playing at. I think they've had a shocker.
Yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I just cannot see that one working as well. Continue with you, Harry. With Spurs, as we see that they are leading the race for Brentford and Spanish goalkeeper David Raya. We know that
we won't pay the money for him, though.
I know. Yeah, And I want to ask you this, especially because we know that Arne Slot is not going to be going to the Spurs. He's now sent at final.
No.
What is going on with this manager conundrum situation?
Oh, he's going to set me up for one on here. Right. So we've had now Nangelsmann turn
I'll
down
just
the
sit
job.
back and enjoy this.
Sit back, enjoy this, ranting about my own club, honestly, at a weekend as well, on holiday. But no, you got Nangelsmann rejected the job. Pochettino rejected the job. Xabi Alonso rejected the job. Arne Slot rejected the job. Company took one look at Tottenham and went, no thanks, I signed a new contract at Burnley. And that is saying something. We're doing it completely the wrong way. We're looking at it and going, let's get a sporting director, then bring a manager in at the end of pre-season. For me, that's not the way to do it. The way to convince the manager to come is you bring the manager in, you beg on your hands and knees for the Nangelsmanns, the Pochettinos, the Arne Slots. You do everything you can. You give them the power of transfers. And Nangelsmann, apparently, one, he wanted the power of the transfers, which we know Levy won't do. And number two, he wanted to choose his sporting director in Ralph Rangnick. But the club is obsessed with this idea of getting the sporting director in first. As a manager, right, I'm a Spurs fan. It pains me to say this, but why would you come to Tottenham right now? It cannot be anything to do with the football-related things. Because, having to work with Daniel Levy, I can't think of one reason a manager would want to come. And we'll be in this situation, end of July, where we'll be going, it's either going to be Potter, Rodgers, Mason, take your pick. Seriously, it's the same as we had with the Nuno summer, where we get to our 350th choice that nobody wanted, and then he isn't backed. He isn't given time. It's the same cycle. It's the same with players. It's the same with managers. So I don't know what we're doing. David Raya won't happen at all because we won't pay the 40 million. Levy will come in and go 12.5 million plus a 5 million add-on, something stupid like that. When Raya's worth every single penny of that for me. Top goalkeeper. He knows we need a goalkeeper. And Levy again is clever. We've got players like Kulusevski, players like Porro, who need signing permanently. He'll make them look like a new signing. He'll sign Dyer a new contract. And if he goes out and pays the money for David Raya, he'll go, oh, that's the summer done. So for his case, we need a massive rebuild. We need to tear up contracts, 10, 11, 12, maybe even 13 players. Contracts for me need to be ripped up. I think you need to start again. We're in that situation. Pochettino called for it in 2019, didn't get it, wanted the team built around Kane. I think that's the biggest mistake Levy's ever made, not listening to Pochettino, who's been the most successful with the club for me under his reign. And he said, he never said anything, but one time he did say, we need a desperate rebuild, and that involves around Harry Kane. Levy didn't listen. He thought he was right. But when Mourinho and Conte, where they win everywhere else and don't win at Tottenham, that you've got a problem, because you get Mourinho leaves Tottenham, wins a trophy. Nuno leaves Tottenham, wins a trophy. Pochettino leaves Tottenham, wins a trophy. What will Conte do? Exactly the same. So you'd be crazy right now to take the Tottenham job. And fair play to Arne Slot, because you would stay at Feyenoord, wouldn't you? But I don't know how people can sit here and defend Levy and go, oh, we're never interested in him. It comes down to these fine margins again, because if we aren't willing to show that ambition, if we aren't going to match the ambition of these managers, then they're not going to come. That's the reality. And people our fans need to wake up. Levy needs to wake up and needs to realise that he's the problem in all of this. And it's just him. That's me done.
That's it.
Harry Scarf, news at 10, Tottenham.
Yeah, he's had enough of his club. Only one more game to suffer, thank God.
Yeah, but that is a lot to say.
You see, we're thinking how bad we're suffering, Cole. Doesn't sound like anything at the moment. I mean,
I know.
It's very easy for all of us to look and say about other clubs because we don't know what goes on. We see a headline and then suddenly it's like, everybody thought that we had no money to spend. In the summer, we did have the money, but we just couldn't spend it because of FFP. But, to me, it looks like, the one factor for Tottenham that keeps coming back and back and back is that two words, Daniel Levy.
Yeah.
And I don't know the financial situation, but can he not be sacked? Has he got something there? Why is he still there?
It's adding on to that, Chris, to answer your question. It's just a fantastic question. He's been here now for 22 years. But sadly, he owns the biggest stake. Him and his family own the biggest stake in the club, and he's not stepping down. But listen, we're talking about someone here who's the highest paid chairman in the Premier League. We're talking about someone who's charging the highest season ticket prices in Europe. He's increased his salary by $500,000 this year, increased the One Hotspur memberships, forcing working class people out of the game. Spurs fans, that's just wrong. Everything he's doing right now is wrong, whether it's lacking ambition. Because we spent the money, but the recruitment's been poor. We don't listen to managers. We don't back managers. I'm fed up with the false promises to the likes of Kane, because loads of Spurs fans can lie to you and can sit here and go, oh, if you're Harry Kane, you'd love to stay at Tottenham, loyal, one club, blah, 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 blah. No. And also, I'll hold it against Kane if he goes to another club. Absolutely not. Kane deserves a lot better than what this club and Levy have offered him. I would love him to go to another club and win a trophy, because that looks bad on Daniel Levy. He doesn't deserve to be in this mess we are. He's up here. The way Levy's treated him and not listened to him, and even with the contract, reluctant to increase it, little things like that. We're talking about a top player here, and he's gonna regret this, and he's wasted this opportunity. Kane deserves better, So this summer, so many people are going to leave. We're in an absolute mess. And statistic for you both here, I don't know if you know this. Without Harry Kane's goals this season, we'd be 14th in the league. Without Harry Kane's goals, assists, and contributions in any kind of goal or move this season, we'd be 17th with 32 points, facing Leeds this weekend in a relegation battle at risk of relegation. And if you add Son to that, we'd be 19th. And we're seriously sitting here going, Son will probably leave, Kane will probably leave. We've got all these players are going to leave, and no players will be brought in. People sit here and go, we won't be in this situation next season because someone will be brought in instead of Kane. Why do people think Levy signed Richarlison? Why do we think he paid all that money? He can turn around and go, we technically got a number 9. He can play in 3 different positions. I know him. He's crafty. As a Spurs fan, we know that anyone you buy, like we got players on loan like Kulusevski, like Porro, that we're probably going to have to buy. He makes it look like a new signing. Like a new contract, that's stopping him buying a new centre-back. I seriously think that although we only sit 8th right now, I say only, it is terrible, don't get me wrong. People go, oh, how far are we away from being in a mid-table club or relegation battle? We're a mid-table club now, and that is a reality. And next, I don't think we're that far away from Everton. You take Kane out of this team, we're below Everton like that. So we're in serious trouble. And fans sit here and go, oh, we'll probably finish in the top 4 next season. I don't know what they're smoking.
Do you think, Carl, that sorry, just take over here, but it is fascinating.
It's fine.
From an outside point of view, it's nice to hear other clubs struggling, isn't it, as well as your own? Do you think it's a case of, and I don't know about your owners, but our owners, we know, we love them, they're very good, we know everything they've done for the club, and not just the club, the city as well. But is it a case of people trying to run clubs that haven't got a bloody clue what they're doing?
Yeah.
Bowie at Chelsea, Levy, I mean, he's not a football man. I don't know if he's ever played football. Probably not.
Right.
So why does he think he knows the best players to buy?
Yeah.
It's a good question. And let me tell you this: I think what's been going on with us, Chris, at Leeds, there was a lot more story with this one, and I think I shared some article on the last few weeks of what was the crisis going on at Leeds. So the situation was we wanted to get rid of Jesse Marsch not once but twice. Radizani wanted to get rid of him, but Victor Ortega, a former director of football, overruled it. How the hell you get overruled by a director of football when you're the owner of the club?
But for me, Carl, Leeds have got it all wrong, because for me, you've either got to stick with Jesse Marsch to the end of the season and take that risk, or with someone like Sam Allardyce, who was out of job when Jesse Marsch was sacked. I remember I can't remember what podcast I was on, but I sat on a podcast and went, this is the time to appoint I know Neil Warnock had the job at the time, but someone like a Sam Allardyce. But you've given him 4 games to go. You play in Manchester City, Newcastle, Tottenham, and West Ham away, and you're saying to him with these players that managers like the Bielsas, the Javi Gracias, the Jesse Marches have struggled to get anything out of, expecting him to stay up. Leeds, I think that to be alive on the final day of the season is credit to Sam Allardyce. And for example, he had his clear way going 1-0 up against West Ham, holding on. I knew sitting there that they weren't going to hold on, but in his case, it's worked wherever he's gone. So, and he's looking at the players and going, look, this usually works for me. But Leeds are in trouble. I think they've made poor decisions, and that's why they're where they are personally. And I can relate to that, being a Spurs fan, to be honest with you. But for Leeds facing us, you go, oh, we probably. I know you haven't won for ages, but you get that first goal. We have it, and you would have at least seen the result when we've gone to St James's Park or we've gone to Anfield. As soon as we start poorly, if you get that first goal, the mentality of our players just crumbles. You've got Romero putting a 2-foot tackle, probably gets sent off again. And the mentality of the players, you've got Dyer, we're passing, giving the ball out of play. Lloris, if he was here. So there's players that struggle with this mentality thing. But with Tottenham, Chris, you're spot on. You've got owners who don't have a clue. But yet Levy, what annoys me the most, right, is he's never admitted to mistake or said sorry. Like he put out a club statement the other day ahead of our final home game against Brentford and said, we recognise it hasn't been the season you want it to be, but please note that every decision I and the board have taken is with ambition, desire and the club's best interest. So you tell me it's the club's best interest to not appoint Nagelsmann, to not appoint Pochettino, to not go after Slot. I don't know what he's playing at. Like we're appointing people like Scott Munn as what we call now chief football officer, and it's be the same with the sporting director who've never come to England before. Apparently Scott Munn can't speak English. I don't know if he knows what football is. He's brought in for the business side of things. See, at Tottenham Hotspur, you have Tottenham Hotspur as a business and you have Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. The business is doing well, but the football club isn't. Levy is jumping for joy at that 15-year deal with F1 because he knows that he'll be ripping in 15 years' time, that he'd be getting that for an absolute bargain. So at the moment, it's all advertisers. Oh, you've got this new go-karting coming, and he thinks the business is doing fantastic. When it comes to football, he hasn't got a clue, and he pokes his nose in last minute. I mean, yes, we got that Poro deal done in January, but it took us 3 months. Pretty much took us 3 months. We before the window, we were still negotiating. It's the final day. I remember sitting there, half an hour left of the window before we announced him. You get a big club and they get that over and done with. He backwards and forwards, and he's a fantastic businessman. But when it comes to football, he hasn't got a clue, and he can't say sorry. The final thing I will say is with Pochettino. I don't know what you guys think, but in my opinion, it's the right thing to do. People say don't go back in football, but he's been the closest to success. 5 years in a row, top four, Champions League football, Champions League finals, FA Cup semi-finals. Nobody has achieved that since that Poch has. But he won't do it because for Levy, his ego, his image as a businessman, as a chairman, because he won't do it because it looks like that it was a mistake sacking him and that he's wasted the last 4 years. We're talking about a human being and a chairman who cannot accept a mistake. And if you've got a chairman that can't accept they made a mistake, you've got a problem there. And we've got a massive problem at the moment. He's in the way of any success on the pitch. And even like with the area, he promised all these things about redeveloping the area. Yet we're sitting here 22 years later and nothing's been done.
And I think you say about not going back. We kind of mutually agreed for Nigel Pearson to leave, and he went off to Hull, and we brought in Sousa. And then we had the Sven years, and then we took Pearson back. And look, the foundations he built.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't keep, because people say, "Oh, you should have gone back to him again." You can't keep going back, but at the time, it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I also agree with that. And this is the thing we've had with Leeds as well. It's been so divisive, and there was still a lot of pro Bielsa wanted Bielsa back. And I said, it's not a good way, because was Bielsa backed by the club? Probably no. He had to take some of the blame with the tactics, but was he backed by the Leeds United board? No, he wasn't. Andrea Realizati was not thinking about it. Angus Kinnear was not doing his job. We say, we don't need. I think it was last season. It was before the program against Newcastle last season. He said something. We don't need to buy any players in the transfer window. We're going to wear that are young players. I thought, why would you come out and say that? And then we had to sack Bielsa a few weeks later, and then bring Jesse Marchand, and we stayed by the skin of our teeth, and we fought. And then the players didn't know what to do on the ball when Jesse went on the ball, and I was reading this. I'm like, how the hell this happen? And then when you're back, Carl,
my question for you is, what do you make of like what Leeds have done with managers this season? Do looking back on it, think it was the right decision to sack Jesse March and the right decision to appoint Javier Garcia? Because I looked at that and went, what are you doing? This guy's never been in this situation before, and you've got Allardyce out of job. I don't know why Javier Garcia was appointed, and for me, this is cost Leeds.
What I'll say is, we wanted to sack Jesse March before the World Cup. We did not think, in a way, we will sack him after the January transfer, and then we lose the Forest 1-0. The situation was, Victor Ora was different about going left, right, and centre around Europe. I think it was Anne Slot who was linked to it. I think it was Iola from Real Vallecano. Then Alfred Schuster, the former Ajax coach, was linked. And then we had to put under 21 man for 2 games against Manchester United. And I think Harry Grassi was like our fourth or fifth choice. I'm like, how can you go within 2 weeks and not appoint a manager?
Yeah. Sam Allardyce was out of job, and he's been in this situation before. And you look at his career, and for Leeds, survival was key. I can't obviously say this will be the case or not, but for me, I don't know if I would have stuck with Jesse March or not. But I think that he deserved maybe a little bit more time. But if you're going to sack Jesse March and take that risk, because when they sacked Jesse March, I sat here and thought, fair enough, Leeds are serious. You know, they really want to stay in this league. They're showing ambition. Then they went and appointed Javier Garcia. And instantly I thought, oh, they're preparing for the Championship already next season. But seriously, that is the type of appointment. If you're serious about staying in the league, Sam Allardyce would have appointed a long time ago. But how many games did it take Javier Garcia to lose towards the end before he was gone as well? For me, even that took too long.
I know, and especially the goals we conceded. I think we conceded the most goals in a month.
Shocking. Javier Garcia. I'm not necessarily. I don't put this on him. I put it on the people who appointed him. Leeds are only in the situation with goal difference because of him. Because whatever you thought of Jesse March, you were always in games. It was just whether you got anything out of the game. Very rarely under Jesse March did you go and get absolutely thumped. Maybe on an odd exception. But under Javier Garcia, it was thumping week in, week out before. And that has cost you, ultimately, if you think about it, about 20-25 minus of that goal difference. That's cost you massively. Because you could be in a situation with Leicester somehow, if Everton failed to win, where we go, Leicester and Leeds have got the same points. They both won. Everton slipped up and Leicester will stay up because of goal difference. So the appointment of Javier Garcia is massively cost you here.
It has cost us hugely. And I think it's down to Victor Ortega, who's been the issue. And I think until before Gracia got sacked, we'll think the supporters advisory board came out from the club. The club support advisory came out with a statement. I thought, where the hell have you not been the last 12 months then? Where have you been the last 12 months? And I'm thinking, when that statement came out, I thought, where have you been? Where have you been? Because we've been saying this for quite a while. And I think with Radazani's situation, because he's just by Sampdoria just now, it's going to be completed on Monday. It's like, is he really going to sell the club to the 49ers? Or is this a question, or he waits till the PSG owners come by a state? No one knows at the moment what's going on at the club. No one knows what's going on inside out. It's been a huge mess. And the only thing that was kept all together with a temporary plaster was Bielsa. That was the only thing. Yeah. And since Bielsa's gone, it's all hell has broken loose. And it's been the most divided thing I've been going for the last 12, 14 months. And I'm just like, this should not have been happening at a club like Leeds. It should not have happened. But we have people like Rezzani, who's come from the media rights. He doesn't know how to run the club. Then he tries to change our club crest one time to do the Leeds salute. I'm like, you're not listening to those properly. And I think the transfers is what we've been in the last couple of years has been bad. Except for one or two players. Like
they've also made this mistake for me in appointing Javier Garcia. I can sit here and laugh at Chelsea with what they've done in Lampard. I think it's strange what they've done, not sticking to Potter to the end of the season. I don't get that. But anyway, Leeds have gone and done something as strange as, and with Tottenham, right? With Antonio Conte. He was only sacked because he's outspoken. Fine if you're going to sack him because he moaned about. He said he spoke facts. I sat here and went, his tactics, his stubbornness was a problem, but sacking him wouldn't have done that. But if you are going to do it, what Levy done is he thought he could get away with 11, 12 games at the end of the season with his assistant in charge. And what Stellini, what that was, is we talk about a guy who's never been a manager before. What it was like is it was like Conte being here with his stubbornness, his tactics, all the negative things, but without Conte's winning mentality and experience winning trophies, and that was just wrong. How are we ever going to get away with that? It took us to get absolutely annihilated at St James's Park for that to change. There's really strange appointments. this season. But with Leicester as well, I think appointing Dean Smith, however, is the right thing to do. I don't know what Chris thinks about what you've done with managers this season, but Dean Smith, could you brought him in earlier? It's hard to say, really. I think potentially
we could have done, and we should have done.
Yeah,
that we were very lucky, and Carl,
it took a long while.
Yeah, Carl will remember doing a show with me when we were discussing the possibility of Jesse Marsh coming to Leicester.
I remember that.
Right.
And it fell through, didn't it?
I think it was the fans' backlash that I think convinced. Well, he said he turned it down, but I think they realised that the fans were not happy.
Do you know why? Do you know why he turned it down? Because I think he's going to get the American national men's team coaching.
That's what he wants.
Yeah.
Fair play to him. I mean, fair look. No manager has to accept a job just because they're offered it. Rodgers should have gone at the end of last season. We finished 8th somehow. We got to a European Cup semi-final in the trophy, obviously, that Spurs didn't want to play in. And sorry, mate.
No, you're right.
And it kind of looked better than it actually was. Then the owner thought he felt bad because he wasn't able to give Brendan the money that he'd promised for the rebuild. So he stuck by him. We had a horrendous start to the season and he should have gone. We then had a bit of a mini revival just before the World Cup, but there were teams that, and no disrespect to them, that you look on paper and think, well, there were games that we'd probably put down as wins. So that's probably saved his job. But he should have gone at the World Cup. The problem is, when he went, it was too late. And when he went, we gave the job there was no plan B. And I do a show, one of my shows on my channel, which is basically me ranting for 30 minutes. And the fact that we gave the job to a coach who then decided for 2 weeks that the best way to go forward was to play exactly the same way that Brendan Rodgers had been doing. And you're thinking, where's the sense in that? So, yes, he should have gone. And when he did go, we'd got no plan B. From the options that were available, Dean Smith probably was the best choice. But what worked in his favour was the fact that he had Craig Shakespeare, who we knew he'd been with us under the promotion from the Championship with Nigel Pearson. He'd been through the Great Escape with Nigel Pearson. He'd been through winning the Premier League with Ranieri. He'd been the manager himself. So we love Craig Shakespeare. And I just wonder if Dean Smith would have been as welcome if he hadn't had, him as part of his package.
Yeah.
Look, if he keeps us up tomorrow somehow, I'll have his babies. But yeah, he should have been, or somebody should have been pointed a lot earlier.
I don't think there's much more that him and Shakespeare could have done in this short period of time. City, you're never going to get anything out that game. But it was only damage limitation. So for Leicester to stay in that game was quite impressive. What other results have we got? That draw with Leeds. Either team could have won that at the end of the day. So looking at and they're going to James's Park and getting that point. So I think Leicester certainly looked better and done all right under Dean Smith so far. You just need that win.
You bring a new manager in and you suddenly think, oh, it's all going to change. Why? Because we can't bring any new players in, so you've still got the same bunch of players.
Same situation with Tottenham.
Yeah. And suddenly,
you think the manager's going to change anything?
You're suddenly looking at the fact that, okay, we beat Wolves, so suddenly, wow, that's it. We're going to win every game now between and the end of the season. And then we drew with Leeds, we drew with Everton. Thing is, would we have got those draws under Rodgers? I don't think we would have done. I think Leeds would have beaten us, and I think Everton would have beaten us, because what they had and what we didn't have was players who actually had a bit of passion.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that one. Harry, I know you're going to go, so you've got to get ready to go at 12. Thank you for joining us as well. What I'm going to do is tell us where people can find you.
There you go. Thank you very much. I love that. You've got my Twitter handle there, HarryScarf22, where you can follow me if you like. Got my channel, Scarfy Spurs Talk, on YouTube, where you can find basically every Spurs content, the match previews, the reaction to this long, never-ending manager search. It seems to be videos every day at the moment with Tottenham match reactions, etc. And this Monday, I have the last weekly live show at 8 p.m. Before that's it for the end of the season. And we'll be back when the season starts. So, yeah, no, thank you. It's been an absolute pleasure to come on. So that is where you can find me. But yeah, as I said, my Twitter handle is there, HarryScarf22. You can find all kinds of content on YouTube, on TikTok, you name it. But with Spurs at the moment, I seem to be here, there, and everywhere because every day there's new news. But that's been a Spurs fan for you. So thank you for having me on.
One last bit of advice for Harry: whatever happens, mate, don't take Brendan Rodgers.
we will though. I completely agree with you. But if you look at Daniel Levy, right? Apparently he's tried to get Brendan Rodgers before, and not being funny, but I think we can all agree that Brendan Rodgers is the cheap and lazy option. And we know with Levy, you look at Brendan Rodgers, cheap option, lazy option. That's already ticked a box or two. He doesn't moan about the board or the lack of money spent. He won't moan about the owners. He won't moan about Levy.
No, he'll throw all the players under the bus, though.
But he don't mind that. He's only if he throws the owners under the bus. He quite likes it when you throw the players under the bus because for him it looks like, it's the player's fault, not mine. And also, he's not going to go out there and like the Mourinho's did or the Conte's did or the Nagelsmann's or Wood or the Arne Slot Wood and gone, I need money to spend. So for Levy, it ticks every single box. But apparently in the managerial race now, you've got Brendan Rodgers and Graham Potter as an outsider. You've got Luis Enrique. You've got that Celtic manager. I'm not even trying to say his second name, Angay someone. And you've got Ryan Mason, who's also an outsider. So it's just really, really grim managerial list. But that's purely on Levy because you don't have match ambition. They're not going to come.
Jesse Marsh, Carl. They'll do a good job there.
Nobody's going to do a good job at the moment at Tottenham, though. Seriously, we can have anyone. We can have Pep Guardiola. It'll be a real struggle to get anywhere.
Yeah,
absolutely. All right, take care, mate. We'll see. We'll catch you again soon.
Thank you for having me on. Thank you. Take care.
Cheers.
Take care.
All the best.
Cheers. Cheers. Right, Chris, we're going to go through our predictions now. This is our final predictions. And boy, we're going to need this, aren't we? So, yeah.
Yes.
I know. You can say that again. Let's go with Arsenal against Wolves. I think Arsenal can win this one 2-1 to Arsenal.
I think Wolves have had an indifferent season. And Arsenal, they're at home. They need to give something to the fans. Let's be honest with you, they have blown a lot of people accuse Leicester of bottling the Champions League that time, including a lot of Arsenal fans. I think you've just bottled something as well, Arsenal. But yeah, they've lost the last two, Arsenal. They need to give the fans something, and I think this is an Arsenal win.
Yeah, absolutely as well too. Villa gets Brighton. There's going to be a lot of goals in this game. I feel like it's going to be. I said 3-2 to Villa because I think Villa will get that final spot of the Conference League.
I went for a draw for this one. I couldn't split them, which will probably do Spurs a favour if Spurs do happen to beat you. But yeah, I can't remember what I went for, but it was a draw.
Yeah, absolutely. I went for a draw. I think I went for a draw between Brentford and Man City. Because I think it's going to be good. But I think I went for Man City win to just finish it off. I said 3-1 to City, actually. Yeah.
Well, Haaland's just been named Premier League Player of the Season, hasn't he, today? So
yeah,
he'll be getting that award before. Is it at Man City at home or
Man City away?
Aren't they? Yeah. Oh, I think it'll be Man City, to be honest with you. They got the FA Cup, they got the treble. They don't want to throw things away, and I think they'll. Just look at them. They're a juggernaut, Man City. Fair play to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Crystal Palace gets Nottingham Forest. I went for a draw with this one, I think, between these two teams. I just think they can finish the season on a high. They've done well to stay up. They could just get a draw out of this one.
This, for me, is definitely like the who cares game. Palace are they're at home. Forest are awful away. Neither team's got anything to play for. For me, this is the 0-0 last game on Match of the Day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're not gonna. We can get with this quickly. Chelsea gets Newcastle. Newcastle win that one usually.
Yeah, easily. Yeah, 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 definitely.
Right. Let's go to Man United gets Fulham. I think this is. I put Man United to win, but I feel like this is going to be a draw because Fulham are going to finish on the high.
I think Fulham have Mitrovic and Silva let the club down because I think without that last game against Man United, the season would have finished a lot better. I've got Man United to win this one.
Yeah, I think I did as well too. Southampton gets Liverpool. We already know Liverpool going to win that
Yeah,
one.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's another one. That's another one. Liverpool definitely.
Right. It comes down to our three games, mate. I'm going to start off with Everton against Bournemouth.
I'd like to say that this is probably the easier of the three games for
Yeah.
the home team. We're all at home. All this like suddenly we can win these games. Like I said earlier, where does that come from? We haven't been winning games all season, which is why we're in this position. Bournemouth, maybe I'm being a disrespect to them. I mean they've beaten us twice this season, so I shouldn't really knock them. Everton is at home, which has got to be a huge, huge boost for them because they always do better at home. But we have put that little bit of extra pressure on them. They know they can't sit back and take the draw. And let's be honest with you, Bournemouth have surprised them, some of the teams they played against this season.
Yeah.
Look where they are. So I've gone for a draw.
I'm going for Bournemouth win. I need the Wolves to just lose that game. Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Leicester against West Ham. This is going to be this. See, I do quite honestly. I think both our teams deserve to stay up. I agree. I 100% agree because we have no malice against each other. I really like, we feel, but for results based, and I said this to Brad the other day when I was on Doug's channel, I'm not knocking you because I always respect you. I have to back my team. You're going to back Leicester as well too. I think I'm going to have to back West Ham to just get a result out of this. Even though the rest of the players, they will just still find something away.
They have got the European final coming up.
Yeah.
And we have got the goal difference. Those are the two things that work in our favour. The thing with the European final is it is 10 days away after this game.
Yeah.
So is that enough time if you are injured to recover? Can you imagine if he plays Declan Rice and he goes in for a tackle, even if it's not a nasty tackle, he just lands badly or he twists and he gets an ACL or a hamstring and he's out of the European final. Oh my God, David Moyes, he'll be hung from lampposts. Now, for me, if I'm David Moyes, I'm sorry, I've got 40 points, I'm safe, and I know it's being disrespectful to Everton and Leeds. I want to win that European Cup because if it does, it almost would certainly guarantee they're not going to sack me next season. And how many managers have won European Cups? And, when was the last time West Ham even won a cup? So if I was David Moyes, I would just be playing the squad players. I really would. We've beaten them once this season already. If the Leicester that turned up against Newcastle turn up, we can do it. If the Leicester that turned up against Fulham turn up, God help us. But I've gone for very, 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 very tight 2-1 Leicester win.
I knew you would go that way. Right. Leeds against Spurs. Oh my God. Listen, I have a feeling the fans will riot tomorrow. Our fans will riot. We have that history of doing something that is radical. We probably will riot because we just have that tendency to just go ape shit if we don't win, So, and it's gonna all hell will break loose. It's just how, yeah.
This to me is what is the hardest game to predict because you can go out and beat Spurs, but Spurs could just as easily, if Son and Kane are on form, beat you. I have to be honest with you, it's not a game that I'm going to be watching because it doesn't really matter to me.
Yeah,
the two games are Everton and
Leicester, which is fair. Enough. Yeah, yeah.
So I won't actually necessarily be following your game, but I just think Spurs are in such a mess.
I know.
And you have done some surprises this season. You know, you went and
Yeah.
did Liverpool. Um,
We
you've
should
had
have
a
did
so
Spurs.
yeah, you've had a so up and down season. I mean, Spurs went and beat us 6-2. We went and beat them 4-1. That's some Spurs up. I'm finding this one really, really hard to call. If you win it, well done, mate. But hopefully, with our result, it won't matter. It won't help you anyway. And I'm going to go for my team. Of course, I have. And I'm going to have to go with what I did in the prediction show, and that is for a draw, I'm afraid.
Fair enough. I have to go
But I
for
can't
Leeds win.
split you. I literally can't split you.
I know it's hard. It's really hard, man. No, I get that. I totally get that as well. You know what, Chris? You've been an absolute pleasure joining us, and you've joined us most of the season as well. I appreciate that. I want to thanks to Jack Mark, to Dan for Turfing Health as well, to Ian Wilkinson, to Harry Scott joining us, to Chris Welsh, to Maisie from Devils United as well. Oh, so many names to give out, and to yourself, Chris. You've been fantastic as well. We are
You've not won an Oscar, have you?
No, I don't want an Oscar.
These people I've got to thank.
No, I'd like to thank for you lot who joined us this past season on this channel as well. Chris, where can everyone find you?
We've suffered together this season, mate. We've suffered together.
Yeah.
Well, as it says there, LTID TV on YouTube, on Twitter. You can find us if you either search LTID TV or Leicester Till I Die TV in all the socials. Both of them should bring it up: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. We're going for the 2000, so if you can help us with that, that would be brilliant. And look, thanks for having me on, Carl. And I feel for you because you were here 12 months ago. I remember watching you and Dan doing that joint watch along, and to go through it again, it can't be easy. And look, in an ideal world, we would both stay up and Everton and Forest would go down, but unfortunately, it isn't going to happen. So we'll keep in touch, whatever. We'll meet again. Don't know where, don't know when, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, all the best, and whatever happens, like I said earlier, look, it's a game of football.
It is, man. No, thank you. Appreciate that. And that is it. That is the end of the show. And it is the end first for this show for the season. I am probably not going to be, I'll be on Doug's channel tomorrow. And hopefully we'll share the content live here on the channel as well. If you want to watch as well on the final day of the season, I'll be doing the Leeds and Leicester game, Leeds and Spurs game. So yeah, I will try to message you in, Chris, if I'll let you know what's going on other results as well too. I'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, that is the end of the show. You can find us here on YouTube at the Total Levy and Horne Football Podcast as well. You can find us on Facebook as well too, through the link as well. And find us on podcast services such as Google, Apple, Spotify as well too. And follow us on Twitter at the LH Football Pod as well. That is it at the end of the show. I want you guys to have a good weekend. It's a nice sunny day. Enjoy your bank holiday. And we'll see you again next season. Take care for now. Bye-bye.